Getting jiggy with it. Getting jiggy with it. Getting jiggy with it.
Well, that certainly takes us back, doesn't it? My name is Moriah Lenhart-Wees. This is my final presentation for the course Theory, Practices, and Challenges of Leadership, taught by Dr. Sidney Freeman. The goal of this presentation is to go into a little bit of detail about the 4 disciplines of execution, a text we read in class, and I want to show how I'm employing those strategies taught to us in the book to get me closer to my professional goal and how others can do the same for their goal. What is a WIG? Let's just talk about that. A WIG stands for Wildly Important Goal. This is a concept that is mentioned in the 4 disciplines of execution, and we need to talk about how many wildly important goals should you actually have. The ideal number is 1 or max 2. If you have too many goals, what ends up happening is you drop the ball on some, you forget about working towards them, you get less effective. As you can see over here in the graph, there's a whirlwind, and lots of smaller goals just get lost in that whirlwind. Now, the whirlwind is a concept that the authors of the 4 disciplines of executions discussed as being everyday, nagging, pressing work that distracts you from working and focusing on your top goal. So if you just have one, that makes it very easy for you to magnify all your energy and focus and work on achieving that goal. We were asked to determine what is our most wildly important goal right now professionally. So after thinking a lot, I decided that my long-term, long-range, most important goal is to become an influencer in the Idaho-China relationship. What does that look like? That means being able to influence tourism to China from Idaho and to Idaho from China, working on international business and trade between our state and that country, working on educational exchange between our university systems, doing culture and language exchange. There are many Idahoans looking to learn Mandarin and many Chinese looking to learn English who could do so in Idaho. These are excellent opportunities. And so I decided I could use my interest and love in Chinese language and culture and my affection for my home state and my commitment to making it a better state to accomplish this goal of becoming a key influencer in that space. So I have that wildly important goal. How am I going to know how close I am to reaching it? We know if we're close to reaching our goal by using lag measures. Now, these are indicators that will tell us afterwards whether or not we met the goal, but they are not influenceable because they happen after. If you're trying to see how many pounds you lost at the end of the week, you only know when the week is up. If you want to know how many dollars you made over the year, again, you only know when the year is over. And at that point, it's too late to influence it. And so, what are some examples of what those measurements would look like in respect to my personal goal? That might look like how many local Idaho companies have invited me to serve on their board as a doing business in China advisor. How many people from China have I brought to Idaho through my connections and through my relationship building? How many dollars have been added to the Idaho economy based on trade and other connections and relationships that I've fostered? Those are all great goals or great indicators of whether or not I'm reaching my goal. Here's just a quick snapshot of visualization of what that first lag measure would look like. The dollars that are added to the economy. There's a representation for you. Another visual representation of another lag measure here. If each potato represents an Idaho business that asked me to serve on their board as an advisor for doing business in China, and 3 businesses that asked me, you could assess that yes, I'm probably reaching my goal. I'm becoming a key influencer. But that's not something I can directly influence myself. I don't walk into a company and ask to be on their board. But there are things I can do to put me closer to meeting my goal. So let's talk about those next. Items that I can accomplish that are influenceable and under my control are called lead measures. These are things steps that I can take on a day-to-day basis, week-to-week basis, to put myself closer to reaching my WIG, my wildly important goal. In my case, I identified 3 main things that I could work on. The first being increasing the number of networking gatherings that I attend with top influencers and players in the Idaho-China space. Those could be members of the government, people who are in business or other higher education institutions. If I get to know those folks, I will be putting myself in that space. If I make myself more visible by writing more articles or doing interviews about my areas of expertise and things that I could share as a partner, that would help me get closer as well. And finally, I can build up the number of contacts that I have so that when the moment comes for me to build a relationship between a Chinese company and an American or Idaho company, I have the contact to do that. So those are 3 things I could work on right now. Just having in mind the lead measures that I can work on, the action items that I can do, is great, but it's not enough, because in order to be an effective leader or an effective employee or effective person in your personal life, you need to be accountable to these measures you're acting on to reach your goal. And how do you do that? In the book, The 4 Disciplines of Execution, they talk about a compelling scoreboard. And this is just a very simple, quick, at-a-glance way to see whether or not you are making progress on the things that you can influence. And it needs to be very simple. You can glance at it in 5 seconds or less and understand where you're at. Are you doing well? Do you need to catch up? And as we all know, we perform better and we're more engaged when we know the score, when we know how things are going. So if you're not aware, you're probably not doing very well. What does now my personal scoreboard look like? It looks like this. This would be something I could slap up on my wall, and every time I went to a networking gathering, or every time I wrote an article on China, or every time I made a new connection, I could slap up a sticky note on the wall and say, look, I'm that much closer to reaching my goal because I'm influencing these things that are under my control. And having this scoreboard available and visual and easily visible is going to be paramount to making sure I make progress on my goal. And so if you're in a leadership position and you're trying to motivate your team, have them create their own scoreboard. Have them be invested in their goals and be willing to demonstrate how close they are to reaching them. And this guarantees that they will be more engaged and more excited about achieving their goal. Thank you for watching my final presentation. I hope you've gained some insights into how to use the 4 disciplines of execution to put you on the fast track to accomplishing your goals and to stay motivated and to stay accountable to the goals that you set for yourself.